the story grows. I'm Brian Patton. Today we welcome former Soulfly, Cavalera Conspiracy, Havok, and the Absence bassist Mike Leon to the podcast. Mike is currently the bassist for CKY, who just released their first new song in 7 years called Can't Stop Running. Mike talks about his special relationship with the Florida death metal scene, the highs and lows of being in multiple bands at once, the unique spot he found himself in during COVID lockdowns, his long history with CKY, and more. It was great getting to chat with Mike, and I hope you guys enjoy this conversation. Thanks much for listening to this episode of As the Story Grows. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, welcome. If you like what you hear, I would love it if you subscribe to the podcast on your podcast platform of choice. You can also find links in our show notes or As the Story Grows for our Discord server, our mailing list, and our Patreon page. Enjoy today's conversation with Mike from CKY.
Toiling away here, you know. We're doing the pre-production for our UK trip, and we leave tomorrow. So
yeah, I was wondering how busy you were with rehearsals right now and getting all that shit together.
Yeah. I got a grip of press this morning, and then I think we'll do a little lunch, and then we'll run through the set a couple times. And
nice. You feeling good?
Yeah, man, we're having a blast over here. We've been running through a bunch of old songs, new songs. It's just sounding really tight, man. We're super stoked to be hitting the road next week, or this week, in fact.
That's awesome. How weird is it for you to be doing press for CKY when you've only officially been in the band a few months, and it's like, what are you here to promote? A single and a tour?
It's all right, man. I wouldn't say it's weird at all. You know, I'm no stranger to doing press on my own in general. I mean, I've been doing this for a little while now. And when it comes to CKY stuff, I've been a fan of the band forever. I've known these dudes forever. And I could accredit my whole entire journey being inspired by these gentlemen right here. So
nice. Talking
about band business is really, it's cool because I'm a part of it now. You know, and they've been very welcoming and everything's very transparent. So I can talk about what's going on and what's coming up, and I love it. It's really cool.
Nice. That's exciting, man. Let's go back in time. You're from Florida originally?
Yeah, originally, Tampa, Florida.
Nice. What was growing up like?
Hot and sweaty. It was cool, you know. I have a ton of great friends, you know, from there, and it never really snowed, so I could skate all the time back in the day when that's what I wanted to do. And I had a really good time, you know, growing up in Tampa. Since this year, my wife and I just relocated out to LA. Okay. Back in March. So we've been there for a few months and we love it there now. So it's been cool.
That's cool. Has there ever been this pull to like move and go back? I know, like, I think like with touring musicians a lot, it's like that familiarity of home, like keeps people where they grew up sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, I spent 37 years of my life in Florida, but I've been touring pretty heavily since my early 20s, especially in the last 10 years, a lot of international stuff. And it always is nice to come home. But it was in my 30s, I've kind of been keeping an eye out for like change, you know, different spots. Like where could I see myself coming home to if it wasn't in Tampa? You know, I've been playing and traveling to LA for 20 years now almost. And I was like, you know, the weather's great. I got a lot of friends out there. There's a lot of culture. My industry's there. I do artist relations for a guitar case company called Enki. So a lot of businesses out there. I play a guitar company called ESP. They're out there too. So it's just, it makes sense for us. And the weather's been incredible. So yeah, we're loving it.
I appreciate people who like the warmer weather all the time. That is not me. I'm just waiting for it to get cold. I'm from DC, and that's where I live again. So I thought I would never live here again, but here I am.
Dude, it gets to 60 degrees and I'm already like in a hoodie, like with a beanie on.
Bad. What got you into music?
I mean, I have a really musical family. They don't play per se, but both of my parents are really big fans of music, and there's always music in my house growing up. Everything from like Led Zeppelin to like Genesis. My mom likes a little more of the 80s pop kind of stuff like that and hits. My dad was more the rocker. My mom likes rock too.
Yeah.
But there was that mix of, my dad brought the Van Halen, the Led Zeppelin, the Black Sabbath, the Carlos Santana, stuff like that. So really guitar heavy household.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you became a bass player.
Somehow, yeah. I mean, I tried a whole bunch of other things before I landed on bass. But
yeah. What was it about bass that connected with you differently from, say, guitar, or your Wikipedia says violin?
Yeah, I knew I liked the strings when I played violin, and I think subconsciously, well, I was ambidextrous as a kid. Okay. So I would hold two different pens and I would write with my left hand to the middle of the page, and then I'd finish with my right hand.
Oh, geez.
And when it came time to playing an instrument, I literally had to choose, do we get a left-handed violin, which was more expensive, or do we get a right-handed violin? And, that was cheaper. And he was just like, yeah, let's just go for that, see if you like it. And I think that's why I started fretting with my left hand and bowing with my right. So then that kind of translated. And then violins have 4 strings too. When it came to using a pick for playing a guitar, which I then later migrated to, I didn't like playing with a pick, and I was playing the guitar with my fingers. And my dad was like, you should try a bass, because, bass players play with their fingers. And I was listening to a lot of Chili Peppers in the house, and I was finding bands like Rage and Metallica and stuff. And I was a big Cliff Burton fan, and Flea and Tim Comerford, Primus, Les Claypool. And so I was like, okay, cool, I'll give bass a try, and playing with my fingers, and it stuck, dude. And it just, here we are 18 years later, that's more like 25 playing, but
yeah,
playing in a band. It's been 18 years since I did my first tour. So
that's awesome. I can never, I have to play bass with a pick. It does not.
It's cool. I mean, I used to be one of those kind of elitist dudes where I was like, you're not playing with your fingers, you're faking it. Just go play guitar. But I've since matured and changed my stance on that. Pick bass sounds killer.
Yeah.
There's a lot of killer tones you can make, but it's just another tool.
Yeah.
And I tried, during the pandemic, I really spent some time with the pick and tried to figure it out, and kind of fell in love with it. So now I understand.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I know Florida has a real rich music history and a real rich, heavy music history, but what was your experience in the Tampa scene when you were a teenager?
Yeah, you nailed it. It's Tampa's considered the death metal capital of the world. And when I started playing out and going to shows a lot, I was super immersed in the death metal culture. My first ever tour when I was just a kid was with Cannibal Corpse and their Hometown Heroes. And I actually was in another band that played in the same building. We had a rehearsal room in the same building as Cannibal.
Nice.
And after I did that tour with them, it was comfortable enough with the guys to if I saw Alex Webster's truck parked in the parking lot, I would go down, I'd hear him noodling away in the end of the hall, and I'd go knock on the door and be like, yo, dude, what are you working on? What are you doing? He'd let me plug into his backup rig, and he would taught me a bunch. So that was really cool. And getting to meet all of these iconic guys, Dave Vincent, Morbid Angel, all of the guys from Cannibal, obviously, some of the dudes who had played in Death, running into Terry Butler and stuff, the Obituary guys. Those are all my weird death metal uncles.
Yeah.
And I run into them still, when I come out to the shows in LA, and everybody's like, how do you like it out here? It's cool because they've seen me grow up since I was a kid.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a unique experience that a lot of local scenes or people don't get to have.
Right. Yeah. I mean, dude, when I got into this, I dove head first, and I just wouldn't take no for an answer. I was just at every show trying to hang out with everybody. And, I worked my ass off to get integrated into this thing. So it just makes sense that what I'm doing now, I've always wanted to do.
Yeah. You've always had, yeah, not always, but for a long time, you've had multiple projects you've been working in, The Absence, Havok, Soulfly. How has that balance been to try to like be in various places and different projects at the same time? Has it been a struggle?
Certain aspects of it, yeah. There was a point in my career when I was full time doing Soulfly and Cavalera.
Yeah.
So that's technically two bands at once. We were doing two different tours, two different separate entities entirely. And I think that was like 2016 and 17. And also we had had a resurgence with The Absence. So we were writing and recording what would become our, not Enemy Bond, A Gift for the Obsessed album. And then ultimately Coffinized as well, the last two albums that I did with The Absence. And we were sending ideas back and forth. I remember being in Russia, talking with the guys out in Russia with Cavalera, texting with my guys back in Tampa, like, when can you be home? You're like sending me like stems to listen to, like, here, write your bass while you're on tour. And then when I'd come home, I'd go right immediately, shift gears completely from the Cavalera universe to The Absence universe. And then there was times also when they would be doing some touring and I'd have to sublet my position. And the guy that I would get to replace me is my good buddy Jesse Jolly, who's now the frontman bass player from Malevolent Creation. It's another Florida death metal band, and he's an absolute monster and a giant, gentle giant, dude. I love that guy. It's super, super hella big. I love super well. He's a really good buddy of mine. I don't know why I said that. I think I need another coffee, but yeah, it's difficult, but it's super rewarding, because you never know. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. And I learned that kind of early off working with The Absence. I put all my eggs in that basket. And then when it kind of faltered, I was like, what do I do now? So I started working with Havok, mixing their front of house before I ended up ultimately joining the band. And then I was like, okay, I need to have more tools in my belt. And that's kind of how that happened.
That's like, I just can't imagine. I like write and record music, and sometimes like once that riff is down, it's gone. I'm just like, I'm always impressed with people who's like multiple bands, all the songs you're learning for touring, even like Metallica playing like 3 hours every night, switching sets every night. It's like, fuck, man. Like,
we were doing almost 2 hours of the Cavalera project. And also I would get off the stage from that, and there were, I don't know, like 18 hours ahead. So I'd be done with my day, just played an entire show. And my guys in The Absence were waking up like, hey, what do you think about this riff? And I came up with the term, the riff vortex in that era, because I was literally just like, working on Soulfly stuff and with Max, and then playing Cavalera tunes, which were the old Sepultura tunes. And they'd want to throw in hey, let's play Murder tonight. And I'd be like, all right, let me learn it backstage. And then after that day was done, it was shift gears to, we're writing another Absence album, which is like melodic death metal. Yeah, three bands at once. And there was this is my biggest claim to fame for that era. I did 3 tours, 3 different bands, 3 different continents in a 30-day span. In 1 month's time, I played in 3 bands, 3 different tours, and 3 different continents.
That's insane.
That was a crazy year for me. I think that was 2017.
Oh, geez. Was because you've been going so hard and for so long, was the pandemic like a nice respite to finally have some downtime, or was it just like, or maybe it was for like those first month and then you're just like itching to get out and do something?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I do talk about this often because I had a very unique pandemic experience. And it was because I was doing kind of that schedule for the past 2 or 3 years leading up to it. And like the end of 2019, I was like, please, I would do anything for like 6 months off. Like 6 weeks off would have been great, because I was just chaining one after another. And I got my wish and then some. And I was actually about to, this is like a unknown thing, but I was on tour with Soulfly in North America, and I was learning tunes from this band called Lockup.
Okay.
Like a grind band with like Thomas Lindbergh, rest in peace. and just a bunch of killers. Nick Barker, my buddy Anton from Criminal, the Chilean metal band, and I had met Anton through Cavalera, and he offered me the bass position because Shane Embry was doing Napalm Death. So I was learning those tracks while on tour, which they're not easy. They're all insanely fast grind shit, playing with a pick, which I didn't do.
Yeah.
And I was learning all those tracks while touring with Soulfly, and we were on tour when COVID hit US.
Oh, man.
So I was in a parking lot of Walmart in Secaucus, New Jersey, when I got a call from Anton, and he's like, tour's canceled, dude. We were going to do 2.5 weeks in Brazil with Deicide and Crypta. 2.5 weeks in South America, but heavily Brazil, region. And that was my first cancellation for COVID. And I was like, well, fucking A, here we go. And I went home, and it was weird. It was supposed to be like a couple weeks to begin with.
Yeah.
It ended up being a few months into what ended up being a few years. And it was weird at first. I was thankful for the break, thankfully I had some savings before everything started happening with like the government funding and stuff like that. So everything was kind of chill. Then I started getting bored, and that's when I started noticing that a bunch of my friends and colleagues were streaming on Twitch. And for me, that was my saving grace, was when I started streaming on Twitch, because I was like, fuck it, all my gigs are canceled, but let me just rehearse the song so I don't get rusty and I'm bored. Yeah. But I'll just do it with a camera on. And that turned into this super, really positive community that I built through the Twitch community. And everybody was super welcoming. People still wanted to see live music. It was a great way to get, behind the scenes kind of with their favorite artists and meet new artists and talk one-on-one. Like, dude, if I could pay $5 back in the day to like talk to Flea, yeah, and have him answering my questions that I'm typing in a chat, like live, and be like, hey, can you play, Can't Stop, and show me the bass riff? And oh yeah, no problem. Mike Leon shreds. Like, yeah, let's do it. And that's what that was. And I really loved that. And so I did that. And that's when I was also working on an album with a band called Igor. I did a track with them on the Spirituality and Distortion record called Paranoid Bulldozer Italiano. And we worked on that project during COVID. I did an album with The Absence where I directed 2 music videos. I did the whole art direction for the cover art and everything like that. And it just really kept me busy. I was never more inspired than that time, because I had time, I had resources, I had made connections, and it was basically just like, well, what do we do? What do you want to do? And, I did that, branded myself, and we did the Twitch community, which bled into ultimately like touring again with Soulfly when the pandemic kind of eased up a bit. Yeah. We did our first tour back, and I brought the stream with me. I was streaming live in dressing rooms every day, and it was just this really cool thing. So in a weird way, I had a very unique and positive experience in the pandemic overall, personally. Yeah. It sucked, but some of us make the best of it, Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's like, talking to enough people, it's like this global thing that was horrible.
Yeah.
But it seems a lot of people were able to find that like lane to like have some positivity or something good come out of it. Like,
plenty to focus on and the negative, but also, time is money and opportunity. So if you make something from that time and opportunity, and, keep your tools sharp and perhaps learn some new skills, I mean, that hopefully never happens again. But when the whole world stops turning, you got to adapt. Yeah. And that's exactly how I saw it. So that's what I did.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's talk about CKY. How'd you meet the band, get connected, and then what led you to joining?
That's a long story, but I'll do an abridged version. I met these dudes actually when I was a kid, probably 15 years old. I had family in Pennsylvania, and my father and my parents, we went up to visit for the holidays, and I just ended up running to a great mutual friend of Chad and I's. His name is Matt Citronbaum, and he was running a company called Bent Forms, who was making all the jewelry for CKY. He made the heartogram hood ornament for Bam Margera's Mercedes that you saw in the MTV Cribs episode. And I ran into him, of all places, at a Sam Ash playing. He heard me playing CKY riffs because I was like, I'm in Philly, I got to play CKY. So he overheard me playing CKY on the bass, and he obviously came over and, was trying to pick my brain. And then he told me who he was and what he does. And he invited my parents and I over to his place and showed us, he has this museum of CKY jewelry and artifacts from their, upcoming, because he grew up with Chad. And that ended up blossoming into a friendship with the band. And I ended up getting my first gig working with them, filming their Hellview event that they did every year around Halloween. And I filmed Hellview the second year at the Electric Factory. And that's, hanging out with them and just being where they were and going to their shows. It was the first time I ever went backstage with a band. And that was what inspired me to pursue my career.
Nice.
And, we kept in touch over the years. I would, run into them at shows and go see them at the Warped Tour, go see them when they're in town. And eventually, when the time came to, I became a free agent, not playing with Soulfly anymore, Chad was in my DMs 3 days later, hey, what are you up to? Would love to have you join the fold. And at that moment, I was kind of wanting to take a break.
Yeah.
And I was I only want to do things. If I do anything, it's only going to be something that I really, really want to do. And that was, I said no to a couple of things, but when I saw Chad reach out, I was like, all right, this is something that I want to do. And
That's
here
awesome.
we go. So
that's awesome. Were you involved at all in the writing or recording of the new single?
That was something that was already pretty much worked on and finalized by the time I came into the fold. But we are going to be working on new stuff as a unit in the future. But we've got a lot coming up. We're going to really refine what we're doing as this new era of CKY. We've got a lot of shows coming up. We just announced Sonic Temple today, which will be our first performance in the U.S. soil in 2026. Thank you, sir. Look at that. What a host.
Gentleman.
I left my coffee on the top.
Nice.
And so there's a lot of really killer stuff on the horizon for CKY, and this new era is very exciting. I think we're all in a really positive place and functioning really well as a unit. So it's like a dream come true for me to be a part of this machine.
Yeah.
And it's what started it all, and here we are now. So
yeah. And it seems like there's a renewed interest in that era of music, whether it's, I don't know, people our age who have the money and resources to just go to these festivals and shows now, or I think just Spotify and pandemic reopened up people to be open to music. And I think people are maybe all that new metal stuff we might have shit on at one point is actually pretty good.
Hey, there's ebbs and flows, man. There's trends and everything kind of comes and goes. There's a time and a place.
Yeah.
But for me personally, CKY has always stood the test of time. It's a band that doesn't sound like other bands. And I think that's part of their secret weapon, is because, trends can come and go, but CKY remains. And the new single is definitely a testament to that, because it's new CKY music. It's the first thing that's been released in 7 years, and it sounds like CKY, and the fans are loving it. We're loving it. We're super proud of it. We just played it for the first time together live yesterday, and it's sounding really tight, man, and we're just really excited.
Yeah. Was there a decision, maybe reception wise, fan base wise, to go and tour the UK and then Australia in the beginning of the year, or is it just kind of what was available?
Yeah, I think there was some unfinished business to be done in the UK, and that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be finishing up what we started there. And I think the Australian thing, we just haven't been there as a band. They haven't been there in, I think, almost 14 years. So it's time, dude. They're hungry. And, this is the first step of many. We're starting to book up 2026. I'm super excited that we're doing Sonic Temple. I think we're working on some more stuff. We're maybe trying to hit some markets that we haven't really hit, maybe ever as a band. And some really cool stuff is starting to come to the table. So 2026 is shaping up really well, and we're going to be playing all over the place. So We're stoked on that.
Nice. Yeah, you mentioned starting to write new material, but it sounds like maybe the focus is we drop the new single, let people know we're back, and then just like get on the road and kind of reinvigorate the fan base before getting to the writing and recording of new stuff?
Yeah, we're trying to, gel together, and Chad and Jess have been playing together forever, and I'm bringing, my skills to the fold. So playing shows, I think, is obviously the best team building exercise. You really get the juices flowing, and it really helps that I have like a tenured history with these guys, because I kind of know, and they kind of seen me come up, and I've been learning on my own, and now I can bring that knowledge here and kind of apply it to what's going on. And yeah, I think it's just a really, really healthy time for the band, and I'm super stoked to be a part of it.